This is Dale Jarrett, reminding you to watch new 90-minute episodes of NASCAR America weekdays starting at 5:30 Eastern. You'll hear from the stars of the sport, plus analysis from icons and Hall of Famers. 90-minute editions of NASCAR America weekdays on NBCSN.
Greetings. Welcome to the NASCAR and NBC podcast. I'm your host, Nate Ryan. Our guest this week is Danica Patrick, who needs no introduction. First woman to lead the Indianapolis 500 in 2005. First woman to win a major league oval track race when she did so in IndyCar in Japan in 2008. And the first woman to win the pole position for the Daytona 500. She started at the front of NASCAR's biggest race as a rookie in 2013. Danica has been among the most visible and marketable drivers in the world for more than a decade, and I think you can make a strong case she is the most famous female driver in racing history. She also has displayed an impressive degree of business savvy since becoming a breakout star. She has made no secret about wanting to leverage her transcendent renown into a brand that extends beyond her racing career. And she's beginning to take some steps to make that happen. She'll have a new clothing line called Warrior in January. She's got a book called Pretty Intense that is slated for 2018. So we spent much of the time discussing that. And Danica impressed me with her command of clothing design. She's relatively new to it, but she clearly has gotten quickly up to speed on this. And I think you can also hear some nervous anticipation about wanting this launch to go well, too. She knows she won't be racing forever. And this is really the first case study to see how life after NASCAR and racing could or might go. Of course, we also talked about her racing, and Danica was just as, if not more, candid about her 2016 season, which was a big disappointment. She didn't mince words. She said that her Phoenix race a couple of weeks ago might have been the worst of her career. She said the fourth full season in Sprint Cup with Stewart-Haas Racing was just extremely frustrating for her. She said she just wants to have fun again. And she also talked about what all of that might mean as she looks forward to 2017. We also talked about dogs, kids, a recent political tweet she made that caused some controversy, and her thoughts on longtime mentor Tony Stewart's retirement. I think this was a good convo, so I hope you enjoy it. We appreciate you listening. If you're hearing us via iTunes, please leave a rating or review, or please subscribe or have your friends subscribe. It really helps us out. There are many other options for finding us: Audio Boom, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. Also check out those places for the NBC Sports podcasting lineup. PA and Florio with Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, always worth a listen. And Tara and Johnny podcast, that's Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir, of course. They just returned with a new episode about their holiday plans and holiday memories. I think you'll find might be entertaining. But let's now get right to our conversation with Danica Patrick. We taped this conversation in Danica's motorhome on Friday, November 18th at Homestead Miami Speedway. It was parked close to the middle of turns 3 and 4, and truck qualifying was happening. So you might hear some ambient noise, but hopefully that just adds to the ambience. Danica, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the lovely greeting from Ella. That's usually how I get greeted by my dog when I get home.
Well,
so
she comes up, jumps on you, licks
starts
you, and
barking.
Barks. Yeah.
Uncontrollably.
Well, I made sure that I grabbed this yellow remote that works their collars, so that if she starts barking while we do this, I'll take control.
Now, I was unaware of this, but you were just telling me Ella is the friendly one, and Dallas is a little shyer.
She's a little skittish.
Okay.
You know, I've learned over time that instead of hoping for the best with people and letting her come up to them and assuming that everyone knows the appropriate way to meet the dog, pretending, assuming it's the first time. Some people just go right for the head and start scratching, and she's just a little bit more, she plays hard to get, she just doesn't, she won't let you in right at the beginning. She's gotta trust you first, and so people have seen her mean side at times, and so it's just easier to say she's really mean, don't pet her. It puts them usually because everyone still thinks they can pet her. They're like, oh no, she won't bite me. But it's easier to just say don't pet Dallas.
Now, this isn't a function of Dallas being the first child and having a little bit
No,
of issues
she's
with,
actually, she bit me a lot when
Oh,
she was a puppy. When she was a puppy, she bit me a lot. Like, I have a scar on my finger right here,
Yeah.
my pointer finger, because I've probably, like, reached in or reached for her or pet her, and she bit my hand once, and it was split open, and then she bit it again in the exact same place and ripped it open again, and that one really hurt. And so it's a scar. But yeah, she what was funny is that she bit me quite a few times, and when she had puppy teeth, it was the worst because they were so sharp. And then Ella was never ever indicated she was going to bite me, but she actually nipped at Ricky a couple of times, which I can't even imagine because she's so good with everybody. Like Kyle and Caitlin's little boy Owen, they come over all the time, and when they come over, Owen will come over, and Owen's rode Ella like a horse, and Ella does not care.
This is Kyle Larson's child, Owen,
Yes,
in case people are unaware, who I've heard is a little rambunctious around the track.
I think he likes to keep moving, and
Yes.
he's a really good boy, but he definitely is a busybody boy. He doesn't really even cry or anything like that. He just is always curious about stuff and learning. So he learned how to ride Ella like a horse.
Okay. And it
went well, but that
she
would
was
not
fine
go
with
well
it.
with Dallas.
All right. Well, it's good to know the yin and the yang of your dogs as we do this conversation. And this will be to the great delight of my wife, who, when I married, she had a dog, the aforementioned dog. She also brought up recently that she was looking at your Instagram, and she was the one who alerted me to this Warrior clothing line, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to know, because I guess that's sort of the intent.
Yeah,
that
that's
you put
good
it out
that
there
people.
socially
Yeah, I mean it's.
Hey.
It's really fun. I've actually, from the time that I was a little girl, I feel like I look back at pictures, I'm like, gosh, yep, I was really into style. Because it's not always like the best memories, because you're like, God, did I really wear that? Because trendy is not trendy forever. But I loved clothes. I took clothes and I would cut them up and I would make them look the way that I wanted. I got a sewing machine a long time ago, at least 10 years ago, and I learned how to hem things and fix articles of clothing. I made some shirts. There's very few things that can distract me from food, like that I can actually forget to eat.
Yes,
But
I've noticed from seeing
found
your Twitter timeline.
that actually, my arts and crafts is, I eat all the time. Yes, I was eating just before you arrived. Actually, I might have even had, I had a little piece of chocolate when you walked in. But I don't forget to eat ever. But when I'm doing arts and crafts like things, and sewing's one of them, I forgot to eat sometimes. I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's 4 o'clock. I didn't eat lunch. So I get a little wrapped up in it. And you don't like to stop. So I didn't like to stop. So the clothing line was something that a long time ago, again, over 10 years ago, I thought that would be so cool. But I swear it was at the same time, it seemed like every celebrity was starting their own clothing line of some sort. And so I kind of said, you know what, it's something I really love, but I'm going to get one shot at it. And if it fails, I'm not going to get another shot at it. So I need to make sure that it's with the right people, and I have the right amount of time and energy and resources to put into it. And so when this opportunity came along to design this line with G3, it was perfect.
And this launches next month?
Launches, not next month. It's almost December. I guess it's not far off December, but
January.
It's January. January 4th, I'll be on HSN a few times that day. I haven't done that yet, but apparently I'm going to be on for an hour at a time, many times throughout the day, like a couple in the beginning of the day, a couple at the end of the day, promoting the line, talking about the line, telling my stories, what went into each piece. It'll be interesting. I feel like I have so much to say, but I have a feeling once I get on set in the studio, filling an hour up of details. That's another thing, is that while I love clothes, I'm also learning what things are called.
Yeah.
Like I learned that I really love a raglan sleeve, which is where it doesn't have the top seam. It actually cuts up like a baseball-like sleeve. Things like that. I'm learning what this stuff's all called. So
Okay.
I'm learning a lot as I go, because, it's important for me to know anyway, just so I can communicate with the designers, because at this point in time, which we talk probably 3 or 4 times a week at least, with just like sending pictures and updates and questions and color palettes for different collections and print designs and different things like that. And just I'll be shopping and I'll send them a couple pictures and I'll say I saw these in the store, they look really cool, and we use them as inspiration for later collections because there's going to be 5 a year. So I keep in contact with them, but I've been using layman's terms. I'm like, where it goes out right at the waist, and then I'm like, okay, that's a peplum. You gotta know what stuff's called, because otherwise it's left up to the imagination, or you have to have really good photo evidence of what you want. So
you're learning like
education,
the tight and loose basically of
yes,
design.
I'm
it was
learning,
like when you came into NASCAR, you had to relearn how to tell them how to make a car handle. Now you have to figure out how to make clothes.
That's right. Now I've got to
in their vernacular.
Figure out how to convey what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like when we worked really hard on trying to, like, the pant was the biggest thing. Like, because I hate it when it cuts in too much, but if it doesn't have enough grab and support up top, then it just slides down and you end up I pull on the legs too much and try and get it back up on my butt. And so the pants was the one thing that I really wanted to put a lot of effort into, to making sure that they were flattering yet functional. Mm-hmm. And so when I was telling them what I wanted, I was, again, using my layman's terms, but luckily they came up with an amazing concept and a way to achieve all those things. And so, I think that part of the unique design that they came up with had to do with my inability to convey exactly what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. But I work with some incredible designers, and they I'm sure that I feel like they disproportionately spend more time on my collection than other things, and I know I'm a small sliver of G3's workload as a company. I mean, I'm a small sliver of it compared to so many other things. They're the 3rd largest manufacturer in the country, I think, of clothing. So
I would think they'd want to expend a certain amount of effort and energy on you, though. I mean, you're pretty,
Thank you. Well, I think that we all have a lot of hope, excitement, and belief that it could be really cool and big. And, we all are really into it. And the clothing is athleisure, which is, for those who don't really know what athleisure is, well, for sure, it's the best. It's the biggest thing going right now in clothing as far as new collections go. And I actually saw something on TV about suits that are actually sweatpants and sweatshirts, but they just like screen print an actual suit design or like a professional looking outfit design onto the sweatshirt and sweatpants. Anyway, so athleisure, very comfortable, very functional, high-low. I mean, it's stuff that you wear to Sunday brunch. It's stuff you wear to run around errands. You wear it to work out, wear it to yoga. It's just kind of the most functional clothing that there are, and it's truly what I wear on a daily basis. So, it's really. It's the perfect collection, and I'm pretty much just going to design it for myself, and hopefully everybody buys it.
So, well, on that note, Danica, I saw that you were intending to kind of put limits on the price points, that you wanted to make it affordable.
Yeah.
Who would be the target audience for this? Age range, I guess, wise.
I guess what you want, my goal would be to add enough details to make it unique and make it special, which is not free, but try and keep it reined in to the point where, even I, which, I do pretty well, start to feel a little bit extravagant to be buying workout clothes time and time again. And I don't want people to think, well, they're not, your workout clothes are probably you're not going to work them out. They're probably going to last a really long time. I'm confident I have pieces from 10 years ago that are still okay. Maybe the elasticity goes away on them a little bit, but I don't want that. I want people to be able to, kind of guilt-free about keeping up with colors and trends and sayings on shirts that look cool and cuts and textures, lightweight for summer, and more weighty clothes for the winter, and just new patterns and designs. I want people to feel free to buy it over and over again without feeling so guilty or not be able to buy it because it's so expensive.
Right. I know that you are passionate about this, obviously, from the way you're talking about it. Mm-hmm. I also know that hello, Ella.
No problem, Ella. You just
Ella
come
wants
sit up
to
here
chime
with
in
us.
on Warrior Design.
Yes.
Is there a heavy? I can hear it in your voice a little bit already, but is there a heavy amount of anticipation here about how it does, because I can recall, like, when I first started doing stories, interviews with you 8 or 9 years ago when I was at USA Today, you were already thinking long term. Obviously, then you're in your late 20s and you're thinking, hey, my racing career is going to go a long ways, but when it's over, I want to continue to do things I'm passionate about.
Is that what we were talking about back then,
as
probably?
A platform,
Yeah.
And so now, now you're 34.
Yeah.
And you probably can see where things.
Well, I'm definitely not on the front side of my career.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. I'm 34.
Yeah.
It's important to use the platform that I have as a transition and as a launching pad. Really, I don't know when that transition is going to happen, but for me, it was more important that I came across the right opportunity with the right company. I think it's still possible when I'm done racing to start something up and do something separate, but even better if I'm actually still racing to be able to be out there and have awareness as far as a brand, a name. And here we are, we're at a racetrack. I'm talking to you. We're here to really, we're here because I'm a race car driver. But if I wasn't here, we wouldn't have the opportunity to talk about this. And so I'm able to talk about the other projects that I have going on. And at the end of the day, again, because I'm 34, we've talked about racing a million times. And sometimes it's fun to hear about other stuff, right?
It's always fun to hear about other stuff with you.
So I feel like a lot of people tell me that too. They're like, you have so many other things going on. And it wasn't always like that. It's an intention to make it like that, but it wasn't. Why are you looking at me like that, Haley? Like I've never had anything else going on. We're not the only ones sitting in the room.
Haley is one of Haley would be your business manager. Is that the way to describe it?
I call you mom. I call you right hand. I call you in charge, the boss. In fact, I think I said that earlier. But anyway, what is your job title? Sometimes I say assistant, but you're way beyond an assistant. Business manager.
She's intimately involved in all these initiatives you're talking about, which is why she's now
to the point where she tells me, Danica, you just have to do this, and I say, okay, you're the boss. Let's do it. That's what I just said like 20 minutes ago when we were talking. So anyway, Haley's shaking her head like I didn't. Because I said that I haven't always had a bunch of other stuff going on.
Right.
I know I've always been more busy than other drivers because I have a lot of unique opportunities outside the car that other people don't. But these are projects to me. Like the clothing line's a project. We're working really hard. I have a book that comes out in a year from January. And, there's a lot of work going into that too. And so these to me are projects. They're not in a endorsement that I've signed and there's X amount of days scheduled and they don't get any more than what they've signed up for. These, I feel like I've transitioned to a point in my career where if I want to make something great, it's about putting in the effort on the front end, and I can't put a day count on that because I don't really know how much time it's going to take. I don't really know how much work it's going to take. But if you do want something to be great, you have to put that kind of work into it. So like with racing, it's 4 solid days a week. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes come in Thursday. We have Monday meetings. It's sometimes text throughout the week about, hey, I think we need to work on this. So I don't have a ton of other time, but I spend my time on racing and then the projects that I have going on. And there's definitely endorsement days and things like that come and go that take time as well, but they aren't anything that I have to. I'm not trying to build something for those.
No,
where
I get it.
The projects are about building something.
Yeah, with endorsement, you're signing something. You're being professional and
it's already
meeting your
planned out
obligations,
for
but
me.
it's planned out. It's transactional. Whereas this, you're personally invested in this, and I guess that's why I'm asking.
Right, and they don't, and they. To be truth be told, they don't pay as well. But there's potential upside that is way, way, way more than an endorsement because there's no end in sight. Like you don't know how long it can go for.
Right.
And if it's successful, then it's definitely not ending anytime soon. And there's also, it will be a certain point in time where if you do a good enough job with them, there will be a lot less work that you have to do for the money. So I'm talking about money, but it's really more about the fact that my business is changing to working on some projects now instead of having to worry about, look, I only have enough time to do stuff that, kind of is cost effective, time effective. Now it's like, all right, we can work on some other stuff and have some fun. And we're way, way, way busy now, but it's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. It's a lot of heavy lifting now that you hope
will mean
even
like
stuff
life
later.
Yeah, exactly. And even, I feel like a lot of this stuff is I mean, I had my great days with GoDaddy, but even Nature's Bakery is such a fun sponsor for me. They, they're such a perfect fit, especially for, the transition into this health and fitness world that that I'm going into with, the book and the clothes and cooking and all that other stuff. It really, I don't know if it's one of those things that's helped allow me to do these other things because people think of me more that way, or if it came because I started promoting those other things that I do. But either way, it's hand in hand working out really well. And now when I go do things for racetracks or for Nature's Bakery, we're doing things like going to do yoga. We're going and cooking. So, stuff like that, which is easy.
But when you signed that deal last year, that was certainly the narrative that myself and others created, was that this was going to be an avenue for you to be able to align your personal interests with branding of the sponsor and perhaps create a lot of opportunities. So
it's super cool. It's super fun. Now I just have to talk them into letting me make design a bar for them someday. That would be fun. Yeah. Because I love cooking.
Okay. The Danica Patrick bar line? That's
Danica Patrick bar.
Okay.
You don't go there, but you can get it.
All right, right on. So is there risk, though? I mean, does it not make you unnerved in any sort of way? But are you, again, I guess when I ask is there a lot of anticipation? Are you really hoping it's successful? I mean, like, it's not make or break, obviously, but
no.
This is like the first kind of maybe test case for, not to say this is like an exit strategy from NASCAR, but after NASCAR and racing, you'll probably be involved in these sorts of projects. So you want them, you want this one to get off on the right foot and go well.
I do. I want them to. I want them to go well. Like I said, it's I was willing to wait for the right opportunity no matter when that came, and I think it would have been possible to still do these things done with racing, but the fact that I am still racing is kind of a bonus, so I don't know how long that'll go for. But it's, everything I do, I'm lucky right now. I'm just able to do them because I really love it and want to do them, not because I have to. I'm not racing because I have to. I'm not starting these other projects with clothing and books and whatever else because I have to. They're happening because I love them. I have fun with them. So far, racing makes me the most frustrated, but that's also probably because I care about it the most. Everything that you get the most frustrated with and that hurts your heart the most is probably because it means the most to you. So, it's still a serious love, and the good thing is that I can throw in the towel when I don't love it anymore, and that's a luxury. I feel like.
Right, right. You mentioned the book. I want to get back to the racing in a minute, but just real quick, just to give you more of a plug for that. That's coming out in 2018. Pretty intense.
Yeah.
And it's not. Should just clear this up.
Do you think that's a good title?
You want my honest opinion?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the word pretty.
Oh.
That's just me.
You saying I'm not pretty?
No. I'm saying. I'm saying as an adjective, I'm not a fan.
Oh, well, you're a writer. What's a better word then? I'm not going to say I'm going to change it, but I'm just curious.
As a pseudo-intellectual man of letters, pretty is not like a real good way. As I use the word like, that's not proper either. But pretty just doesn't really do it for me. As
like, why don't you like pretty?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, right? Like.
The Valley girl in you, the inner Valley girl in you is coming out and making my case. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's a fine title.
It's definitely a play on words a little bit, right? It's about being pretty, but it's also it's an adjective as far as an action. Like, no, it's not an action. It's to be pretty intense is like, what are those two? A verb? I don't know. I wasn't an English major.
Yeah, in this case, I think it would be pretty as an adjective as opposed to like an adverb describing a verb. But anyway, we don't need to get. I'm sure this title has been vetted.
What would be a better title? I'm just curious.
I mean, I hadn't even thought about the double entendre of pretty being an attractive female race car driver kind of being
even better word, double entendre. Yeah. I think I've heard that in a rap song though.
Yeah, probably. All right, so I'm sure the title Pretty Intense has been vetted already by people way smarter than me. I'm sure it'll do great. 2018. It's not an autobiography though, just to clarify. No. Just tell people real quick, it's more like a template for like how
it's going to have three parts to it. It'll be kind of the mental side of everything, attitude, mantras, all kinds of things about just, really about how I got to where I am and the epiphanies that I've had along the way and the attitudes that have helped me the most in life and business. And then it'll have a section on working out, and it'll have a 12-week program, which I guess I might as well just, we're gonna end up doing a focus group test. So that'll start in January. We're probably just about to launch that. So it's anybody can sign up and give their testimonial. I want before and after pictures, and I wrote every single workout. I have tested every single workout. I just finished doing the last one yesterday before we flew to Homestead. So I've tested all the workouts out, and I did the final week 12 upper body workout, and it hurt. So it's a 12-week program, and then there'll be a diet section, and then there'll also be recipes. So those will also all be all my recipes as well. So I've been writing recipes down for 2 years or so, and so it'll be a matter of kind of putting those all together that align with the diet, because my diet has evolved over time, and so there'll be a diet section. So there'll also be writing when it comes to working out in the diet, but there'll be the workout program, and then there'll be the recipes.
So it's sort of like an inspirational, aspirational, this is how I do things, this is how you could do things, a way that...
Kind of like a good life guide, you know?
Gotcha.
Or your best life guide, Just a way to take it to the next level. And really, a lot of it just stems from the fact that I changed up my workouts and my diet at the very beginning of the year, and it was extremely effective. And I've also worked out for so long that I feel like this is also the most fun I have working out. And so it's a way to show that to people, tell them what worked for me, and try and help people just be healthier and feel better.
Right.
I mean, because when you work out and you eat right, you feel better.
I agree. So moving on.
It's not hard, and it doesn't taste bad either.
No.
I mean, it's going to hurt for a second when you're working out. I mean, it should. If it's not hard, it shouldn't work, right? I mean, if you go for a walk, you're not going to look like, the fittest person in the world, right? But if you work a little bit and it's hard, then it probably should be effective. But you also don't have to do it as long. So, like, going for 45-minute runs back, 10, 15 years ago, I mean, I honestly think that I could run forever. I think I could just do a marathon. I don't even think I'd have to train. I think I could just do it.
I remember you saying that once during the dinner that I did with you and Ricky for a story 2 years ago, that you just said, I could do a marathon. I think I could just do it because I can just keep pace. It's like a race, right? Our heart rate during a race is like a marathon. It's like that kind of steady heart rate. But I work out a different heart rate. I mean, like when I work out, I try and really, like, sometimes I'm doing it for pure muscle fatigue. Mm-hmm. Like the other day I was doing ring dips and really, really heavy kettlebell swings, and it took 12 minutes to do this workout, but I mean, I'm still sore today, like days later. And sometimes I'm doing it for pure, like, I can taste blood in my lungs, like exhaustion from breathing so heavy. I hope I don't turn people off from it. I mean, that's my own fault. That seems like a lot. Yeah, it seems like overexertion too.
It's about getting it done, but it doesn't need to take very long. Like I most of the workouts are around 20-25 minutes.
Okay. Well, let me know when you run a marathon without any training, because that's a race that Danica Patrick is in that I would want to cover.
Gosh, the problem is that I'm so competitive that I don't want to do anything if I haven't done the most amount of work possible to prepare for it, to do my very best. So no matter what it is that I do, I can't get started unless I know I can go all the way. And so whether it be the clothing line or whether it be even a speech, like I can't tell you how many times I get asked to do speeches. I mean, I could go on a speaking tour, I'm sure, just because people want female speakers, because there's not very many of them, and because I'm unique in a man's world, and there's just a lot of empowerment there, and I turn so many of them down because I can't. To prepare for them takes a lot of work, and those are those endorsement days that I'm like, I just don't have enough time to put the R&D into making sure that my speech is right, and I will not hold a card up there. I just have to do it off of memory. And so I've done a couple 30-minute speeches, but man, they are not my favorite. So things like that, I just, I don't do anything unless I know I'm going to put the effort in that it takes to do well. Yeah.
Which is why...
So the marathon. Back to the marathon that I said I could just go run. Maybe I'll just go do it sometime and map out my 26.2 mile course, right?
Okay, yeah.
And just do it and just see how long it takes me.
And like proof of life, just send us some photos from start and finish line. Okay, good. All right, so you were talking about getting frustrated when you with your racing, and obviously everything you just said about how passionate you are and competitive you are, wanting to be very good at everything you do.
Clearly, racing really, really pisses me off then, doesn't it?
Yeah. You said it, not me. This season hasn't probably gone exactly how you wanted it.
Gosh. I mean, we were driving into the track last night after landing, and I was just sitting there and just shaking my head because it's, it's the last race of the year, and I'm like, man, I just hope next year's fun. Like, I just want it to be fun, which means I want it to go better. So both Ricky and I I'm like, babe, I know you know what I'm talking about, because he said, they started the year off all right, but they've had to struggle too, and, it's just not much fun. And then he goes and he's like, obviously just running in the top 15 every weekend would just be so much more fun, and then you can work from there. Some weekends you hit it and you're going to be, top 5, top 10. Some days you miss it, you might be 20th, but it's just, so much more competitive. Lead lap, something on the line every time, instead of terrible races where you're out there and things don't go well, and you're on your own lap because you just sucked that day, and nobody, it gets so spread out, and it's just not much fun. So I do just really, really hope it goes better. I care so much about it. It breaks my heart every Sunday when it doesn't go well, and I was so happy last week at Phoenix when I wanted to focus on qualifying more, and we just missed the top 12, and I'm like, all right, that's it. You know what? We put the effort in, it went better, and then we went into the race, took a couple little chances with some of the setup stuff, went out in the race, and it might have been my worst ever Cup race. I mean, I was so slow, and the car would not turn, and it was just, so it's like the highs and lows. I mean, it's I spent Friday and Saturday happy and excited that we were starting better, and then, Sunday night was just sad. Like, I just get so sad. I'm just so sad now. I used to get more angry when I was younger, and now I'm just like, I still get angry. I don't do quite as many crazy things as I did when I was younger, but I don't kick things over as much and stuff like that. But
that's good. You're in your 30s.
I
now,
also,
so that's natural.
some of my anger got taken out on the radio, so I think I used to be real mouthy on the radio, so that's better than when I was a kid too. But I still get mad, but I get sad too.
Yeah. You said last year that when you signed the new deal, you said improving every year is important. Do you feel like you improved in some ways this year?
I feel like I'm improving. I feel like there's way more scenarios on track that feel normal, natural, and like I'm prepared for. I feel like all that kind of stuff. I feel like I'm getting better. But I think there are so many other circumstances that go into the results. So getting better every year, I guess, is I could be a little critical and break that down in my favor, and go ahead and just like say that results are not necessarily something that coincides with getting better. I mean, look how many drivers and teams have their ebbs and flows. I mean, you look at some drivers that have terrible years, and then they all of a sudden look like they figured it out and they know how to drive a race car again. And it's like, Ricky and I will always joke with each other about things when they go bad or when they go really good, and we'll be like, did you just remember how to drive today? Good job, way to go. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot how to drive today. Like,
that's one of my favorite NASCAR cliches. Well, they didn't forget how to drive, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't get worse over time, you get better.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's very frustrating. This sport is very frustrating, no doubt, and there's so much more that goes into it than meets the eye when you watch it on TV. And I'm sure you get a glimpse into that, obviously, being at the track all the time. But even then, it's hard to really know the details that go on within the team. And I'm sure I don't even know all the details because I don't have the time, nor do I have the interest to spend every day at the shop looking at the race car and, like, helping build it. That's not my job. I don't know how to do that. I I don't, nor do I have the time, and I don't want to look at the race car all day long. There's so many things that are going on that that's not what I want my everyday to be. So you really have to make sure that you put those people around you that you know are going to do a good job, and sometimes it's circumstantial, like maybe it's just the team's having a tough year, maybe it's that, you know, manufacturer-wise, you're not in favor. I mean, there's just so many different things that play into it. But I mean, so everybody at this level and Cup level is talented. You didn't get here by being terrible. You know, with the right opportunity, I mean, with, you know, like I said, you see it all the time with drivers that get into really good cars for a weekend or for a while, or you see a team that just all of a sudden, you know, shows up one year and they're just super on the radar and super fast every weekend, and then some that come off of the radar.
All right. So what happens for 2017? Do you set goals and say, this is where I need to be next year, and if not, then I reassess? Or
I mean, I guess that's a good question, and it's a one that I think the answer that I would have is I feel like probably the most productive thing I could do is to motivate my team, ask a lot of questions, ask what we are going to do to get better, and hope that the right changes are made, the resources are there, the time and effort is available, and you know, you show up the next year with everything better. Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of one of those self-propelling things too, because when the car is better, you get more confident. Then when you're confident, you do more. I mean, like, it's just one of those spirals that, you know, you want to spiral up instead of down, and that's why it's easy when you have a bad time. It's like the whole momentum thing in a season. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're coming off a good weekend. Is this good momentum? Well, I mean, it's always good to be in a good mood, and it helps when you do well. But you gotta, in NASCAR, in Cup, you for sure have to learn how to keep yourself on the up and up, because you might have a couple bad races in a row, and shoot, that's just a little sliver of your season. But if you let those couple of races make you spiral downward because you get in a bad mood, and then you make someone mad, and then you make a bad decision, then you crash, and then you know, there's just so many things that can keep it going in the wrong direction. I learned really quickly back in the Nationwide days that you cannot do that.
Right. Got to live in the moment.
It's an exercise in discipline and attitude.
I get that. I've got a couple more for you on the personal side. So we don't have much in common. Well, you know, we live kind of different lives, but there are some ways our lives intersect. One would be we have dogs. Okay. The other would be that I noticed on your Instagram the other night that you went and saw like an old friend who you'd known for 20 years, and she had a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, when I don't have kids, and like when I go and see friends, like, I'm finding more and more these days that all of them have kids. So when I saw that Instagram
sometimes
photo,
2 or 3.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, what kind of, you know, as someone who hasn't started a family yet, does that what happens when you run into friends with kids? Does that make you think about, hey, I know I've heard you talk about the movie Sliding Doors before. Does it ever make you think of that movie?
Like what could have been? Like, or like the butterfly effect or something like that? Like one ripple causes
like, would that
the
be my
rest?
life if I didn't choose this path?
Man. Well, I for sure would. And if somebody asked, what would you change if you could change anything in your life? My answer is usually just I wouldn't change anything, because I'm happy about where I am. And if I would have changed one thing along the way, you never know what direction it could have shifted everything. So I don't look back. But what does it make me think? It makes me feel like I'm getting old. I mean, it does. Like, I mean, I see.
That's my reaction too. So again, we have something in common.
Makes me feel like I'm getting old, and maybe this is. I mean, like, I'm thinking about my parents and how they're just like, my parents are your parents. They've got everything under control. They do everything. They know everything. And then I think to myself, oh my gosh, I'm 34. I think I was around like 12 when my mom was 34. Yeah. And so, you know, I think to myself, oh my gosh, like, I don't have it all together. Like, if I didn't have my team of people to help me do everything, I would be a mess. I would not be the success that I am, both on and off the track. I wouldn't be like, there's so many things that are just, I'm glad for the years that I actually paid some of my own bills. Like, I had a checkbook, I'd get a bill, I'd fill out the check, I'd mail it off. This was back in the old mail days.
Yeah.
But I knew how to do all that stuff and, set up my appointments and go to the dentist and go get my hair cut. And, you have all your appointments. I have, now I'm at like adult level stuff. So, but thank God I have help. So do I have everything under control? Not really. Because I feel like if everyone got taken away from me, I'd be so screwed. You can all laugh. It's okay. I would be so screwed. So I think the machine got so big that I can't handle it all. But it's true. It'd be awful. Bills wouldn't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Money wouldn't get collected. It would be a disaster.
You run a pretty tight ship though for your support system too, right?
That's actually our joke. In fact, Haley, go ahead and do it. What do we say? I run a tight ship. With the finger up in the air. Pointer finger up in the air. I run a tight ship. We have to. So we were just, as we were talking about all of our scheduling stuff, which is a little out of control right now. Like, people are asking for dates in a month, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. I'm like, literally, like, there's not a single day. So we are going to have to run a really, really tight ship, I think is what Haley said. So, but I see my friends with kids, and I think I'm getting old. I don't feel that old, which is the point of the last 5 minutes of rambling I just had, is I don't feel that old. Like, I don't feel like my parents anyway, but I guess I should be. I should feel like that. And I think to myself that, I think as I get older, kids are more like when I was younger, I wasn't super interested, nor did anybody really have them. But now that so many have them, and I mean, my favorite kind of nights are just cooking and hanging out at the house and having a glass of wine, and kids fit in. Like when kids are over, that's okay. Yeah, back when you're younger, you're like, wait, how am I gonna get? I can't go out now. You can't do anything. So, it's a little bit more of a handbrake. But as you get older, you get over that stuff, and so then I think that kids are cute, and especially now that I have dogs. I mean, honestly, I know they're not children, and I can put them in a cage and stuff, and I can leave them alone. But they don't eat without me.
Yeah.
And that's the only difference I'd say with kids and dogs is that, and this isn't our favor, Nate, is that it's the eternal toddler, the dog. The dog turns 3, and it still needs to get fed. That kid turns 3, it can actually grab a banana for itself, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? Eventually, when that kid is 6 or 7, it's cooking for itself. That dog still has to get fed. Can't do it itself.
Our dog is 12 and still needs to be fed every day, and still greets us the same way that I presume it did when
12.
My wife had him when he was 1 or 2. So yeah, but he's he's
that's
the same.
The only thing in our defense that makes it a little bit different.
You're right.
But we still can leave them alone, and we don't. The only trouble I worry about with Dallas and Ella is that they're just such rowdy players. I'd really just hope that if they've been alone for too long, that one of them didn't get too rowdy and cause damage.
That's why you got the dog remote.
Well, I can't do it if I can't see them.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So
I guess it has its limitations.
Just hope they sleep when I'm gone.
So we discussed your Twitter account is usually all food, fitness, health, and I happened to notice the day after the election, you had a political tweet.
Hey, I'm a race car driver. Why would you do this? Why would you end on something political?
Because you tweeted it. I was just
curious.
You're
right, it's public then.
Yeah.
Well, really what I was intending was that, there's so much negativity and it just doesn't need to happen, right? I mean, the point of me tweeting about let's make America great again, aren't you excited, and doesn't everyone want America to be great, is that if he says that's what's going to happen, then I'm excited. Let's have some faith.
Right.
Stay positive.
I perused the replies, and this is not a scientific sampling by any means, obviously, but seemed like it was tilted a little bit toward a negative response.
Usually those who are the most negative are the most loud.
Yeah. Okay.
Would you agree with that? I mean, you live in the world of media and everything, and, I don't feel like I'm out of line in saying that, but usually the people that are the most negative and or the most opinionated and the most extreme a lot of times also are the loudest.
Yes. Very true. Very true. Very fair.
So you have to take social media with a grain of salt.
Yes.
The easiest way for me to handle it is to post something and then not look at anything.
Do you usually not look?
Nah, I might a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the heartbeat and the pulse of kind of what stories can develop.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't get where I am today because I tried to appease everyone and tried to make sure that everyone liked everything I said or did. All I ever hoped was that people would respect my honesty. They didn't have to like what I said or what I did, but at least that they could respect my honesty and that I don't back down from something, from anything that I've said or done. It's all been done because I've decided that was okay for me, and that's all that should matter.
Yeah. All right, last one. I promise. You've been very gracious with your time. So I was doing a Tony Stewart retrospective, and I was going through all of the interviews I've done with him since 2002, and I stumbled across this. I'd forgotten, like, how much when you were looking into coming to NASCAR, he was like your consigliere in a way. Like, he was the guy you were talking to.
Whoa, back it down on the big words. The what?
Consigliere?
That's cool. I wish I knew what that meant, but
like in the
helper,
like in The Godfather,
like The Godfather,
like The Godfather has his consigliere who he consults for advice on things he should do, like
a consultant.
Like Tony Stewart's
Put
consigliere.
it in layman's terms for me.
Tony Stewart's consigliere probably would be Eddie Jarvis, maybe Mike Arning or Brett Fruit on some days, but I would say mostly Eddie. So Tony was kind of that for you when you were looking at NASCAR. It seemed like when I was looking back
counsel,
at
would that be like
counsel.
his let me put it in Danica terms. This is no college education terms. So this would be like Tony's like council member helpers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
So now that he is
a council of helpers,
now that he is retiring from here, Danica, and he's still going to be around the racetrack, he tells us, like maybe a dozen or so or more NASCAR races. Do you think your relationship with him will maybe go back to a little bit? I mean, will he play a little bit more of that role of being
a council member helper?
Yeah. Because he was looking back at these interviews, like I'd forgotten, like he was pretty instrumental.
Yeah, there was a lot of times before I drove for him that I would go over to his bus and talk to him, and we'd try and he'd try and help me. I'd have questions, and so do I think that? I think he's going to have more time to give his opinion. Like I know even in the past when he's been out for various reasons that. He would go up to a spotter stand for either practice or the race, and he'd come on the radio before the race, say good luck, and then maybe he might come on at some point during the race and say like, hey, just race the racetrack, just slow, calm down, things like that. And he's obviously going to have time to do that now. He's going to be able to give his 2 cents and have time to and the energy to. So yeah, I think I'll see a little less of him, of course, because, of course, unless he comes to every single race, I will see less of him. So I hope for his own good he doesn't. Is part of the reason for being done racing is so that he can do other things, and you can't do it if you're at this race at, the Cup schedule, which is just a lot and relentless. And so I hope he goes in. It'll just make him even better when he comes to the Cup track because he's going to be happier. He's going to be, he's just going to be in a good mood.
You're going to miss him?
Oh, yeah. I'll miss seeing him all the time. He's funny. We always joke. Him and I are able to, I feel like, joke the most out of everyone when we have our meetings. And we humor each other, I should say.
He's talked about your dirty sense of humor before, by the way.
Yeah.
I was reviewing some interviews in which he mentioned this as well, that you guys have a rapport that
I have to make sure. I have to make sure that it's known when I'm. Usually, what happens is that our meetings will go on, and then all of a sudden, something vulgar will get said or implied, or it'll be like a double entendre, and then it'll be like, oh, guess the meeting's over with, because that happened so many times, it would take the meeting in a new direction. Then all of a sudden, we'd all look at each other and go, oh, I guess we're done talking about cars now, and so I have to make sure it's known when I'm not the one that starts it.
I see. All right.
Because I guess I do have that.
Well, I hope you can
side
find
sense
to
of humor.
him.
I've spent most of my life with guys, so I feel like I have a guy sense of humor, and I like to make sure that everyone feels comfortable around me to be themselves, and the easiest way to do that was always to just make some jokes that would make them feel comfortable making whatever jokes they wanted to make.
That's definitely
and
the way
then
to
I
do
guess
it,
it
Tony.
became, and then I guess it became my personality.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make a personality that isn't yours, so I'm sure it was in there. I just practiced it.
Just took several years of race car
Practiced
driving
it.
to bring it out. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for enduring
You're
all
welcome.
of my questions this Inquisition.
You're welcome.
As always, I appreciate
Always
it.
very nice talking to you, Nate.
Again, we appreciate Danica Patrick for graciously making time for us. Thanks as well to Haley Moore, whom you heard name-checked a couple of times during the podcast. Haley's been great to work with for many years, always helpful. And also a big thanks to Annette Randall, who also was in the motorhome during that conversation. Annette went above and beyond to make this happen, like she always does, like she always has for many years, coordinating this interview and really helping make it come to fruition. It wasn't easy. Danica has a very busy schedule, as you heard, and Annette was extremely cooperative in ensuring that it happened before the end of the season. So a big thanks to her. Like many NASCAR PR reps, she is a pleasure to work with and always professional. So thanks, Annette. Thanks as always to another pro, Tess Quinlan, for producing the NASCAR NBC podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes for automatic downloads of new episodes. And as always, NASCAR NBC podcast also is available on Audio Boom, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, any method of listening to a podcast. You'll be able to find us. Also check out those places for the NBC Sports podcasting lineup. No NASCAR race this week. Of course, the 2016 season is over. Stay tuned in a couple of weeks. We'll have coverage of the NASCAR Awards ceremony at NBCSN. And in the meantime, everybody, I hope, has a happy and enjoyable Thanksgiving this weekend. So, as always, if you've got ideas for the podcast, I'm listening. Send them to me on Twitter, @NateRyan. The NASCAR season is over, but the NASCAR and NBC podcast is not. We will have some more episodes during the off season, so stay tuned for that. Thanks again for listening. We hope you enjoyed it.